That trip wasn't carefully planned. It was as if my husband, our children, and I had fled from the noise of the city without thinking, in search of some peace in a small coastal town we used to visit during our childhood. The air was refreshing and the sky was clear, but something cast a shadow over the place. A feeling I couldn't describe, as though an invisible presence was following us ever since we approached the town. When we arrived, all the hotels were fully booked. It was holiday season and people had rushed to make early reservations. We drove around for a long time looking for shelter until we found it. A small, rundown hotel at the edge of town, right next to the bus station. There was no flashy sign or bright lights, just an old wooden door and a window covered with torn curtains. I hesitated, even felt afraid, without reason. But my husband tried to calm me, saying we'd only spend the night there and look for a better place in the morning. Reluctantly, I agreed, watching the building as if it were the last time I would ever see it. We entered the room, and that's when everything began. A strange, faint smell filled the space, like a mix of sulfur, dampness, and mold. The floor creaked annoyingly under our steps. The walls were cracked, and the only window overlooked a dark street. In silence, I looked around and whispered to my husband, "I feel like this place isn't normal." He chuckled softly, though his voice sounded unusually quiet. "You're just tired. Try to relax." Later, we went out for dinner, trying to seem like a normal family enjoying their vacation. But inside me, turmoil brewed. I felt something lurking nearby. When night fell, we returned to the room, turned off the lights, and lay on the bed. I tried to sleep, but sleep refused to come. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, its cracks like those of a ruined roof. Eventually, drowsiness overtook me, little by little, but I woke up suddenly. The clock read nearly 3 a.m. I was lying on my side, my back facing the window. Street sounds reached me clearly, yet the window had been closed, not open. I tried to turn around to wake my husband, but I couldn't move. My entire body was paralyzed. I tried to scream. No sound came. All I could do was press hard on my husband's arm until he woke up. He opened his eyes slowly and looked at me, whispering, "What?" "I'm scared," I said, trembling. He looked toward the window behind me. Suddenly, his face paled and his expression changed completely. He spoke in a composed tone, though his voice trembled slightly. "Don't worry. Everything is fine. Go to sleep." But I could tell he wasn't fine. His eyes kept staring at something behind me without blinking. Then he abruptly closed them and started murmuring words I didn't understand. I didn't ask him. I didn't dare. I returned to sleep, or at least pretended to, but my heart pounded in my ears all night. In the morning, we didn't exchange a single word. We packed our things, left the hotel, and walked down the street like two people who had witnessed a tragedy they never wanted to speak of again. But that evening, he finally broke the silence, as if carrying a secret too heavy to bear. "There was a shadow standing behind you, tall, unmoving, just watching you." He paused for a few seconds before adding in a choked voice, "I saw it clearly. It wasn't human." Since that night, something inside me changed. I was no longer the same person I once was. We returned home to the city, but something from that old hotel followed me. I didn't see it, didn't touch it, but it was always there, present in the shadows, in mirrors, in the dark corners of rooms. The dreams started every night after that. I would find myself standing in the same room where we stayed, looking at the window behind me. A black shadow, featureless, taller than me, motionless, only staring. And when I turned to confront it, no one would be there. But I'd hear my own breath echoing against the wall, as if I weren't alone. On the third day after returning, I was cleaning our bedroom. Everything seemed in order, but when I reached the closet, I noticed something odd. The mirror hanging on the door, which had been lightly covered in dust, reflected me differently. My clothes weren't what I was wearing. My face was pale and my eyes were wide. It was as if I were seeing myself in a form I hadn't taken. I stepped closer, and the moment I placed my hand on the glass, I felt a sudden coldness spreading through my limbs. Terrified, I stepped back, my heart pounding wildly. I tried to convince myself it was just an illusion, a hallucination caused by lack of sleep. But that night I woke to a soft, eerie laugh in my ear, a cruel, feminine giggle. I opened my eyes. The room was dark and the clock read 3 a.m. again. I looked at my husband. He was sleeping deeply. I got up slowly and walked into the living room. There stood the mirror in the entrance hallway, reflecting something else. A woman standing behind me. The same shadow, but now with a shape. A female silhouette. 2 black eyes like hollow pits, and a sideways cold smile, as if mocking me. I turned around. No one was there. I looked back at the mirror and saw only myself, but I was trembling all over. The next day I visited my mother. I sat with her without telling her anything. I just wanted to be in a familiar, safe place. But after studying my face for a long time, she suddenly said, "Something's changed about you, my child. Something has drained your light." I stared at her in shock. "I could feel it," she whispered. "I could feel it the moment you walked in, and I heard heavy footsteps in the house while you were sitting here." I returned home, anxiety gnawing at my chest. My husband remained silent, but he was watching me all the time. One night after turning off the lights, he muttered quietly, "I see her every night, standing in the corner near the bedroom door, watching us." I looked at him in horror. "Who?" "The same one from the hotel." The children didn't know anything about what was happening, or so I thought. I smiled at them, prepared their breakfast, told them stories, but inside me, something was breaking every day. One night, as I was putting my youngest son to bed, he said to me in a hushed voice while looking at the ceiling, "Mama, someone stands here every night. She has long hair and smiles." My blood froze. I asked him, trying to appear calm, "Where did you see her?" He pointed to the corner near the closet. "Right there. But she doesn't like Papa. She glares at him." I held him tightly and told him it was just dreams. But deep down, I knew. The next night, I heard crying coming from the kids' room. I ran in, panicked, and found my daughter standing in the middle of the room, crying and staring at the wall. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked. She replied with a trembling voice, "She told me not to speak. If I tell anyone, she'll take Papa." I started to believe that we weren't alone anymore. The entity that came with us from that hotel hadn't left us. It had slipped into every corner of our lives. It was among us now, silently watching, interfering, growing stronger each time we ignored it. One night I heard the bedroom door open slowly. I was awake, my husband asleep beside me. When I looked toward the door, it was open, and thick darkness loomed beyond it, as if the night itself had entered our home. Then I heard quiet footsteps, but they were real. I shut my eyes tightly and whispered to myself, "Allah, there is no God but Him, the living, the eternal." I felt something pass by my side. The air changed, then silence. In the morning, I found the mirror in our bedroom shattered. Nothing had fallen on it, and no one had touched it, but the glass was cracked in a circular pattern. In the center, a small scratch shaped like an eye. The next day, I decided to visit an old woman my mother sometimes went to. A woman said to have insight. I entered her house and sat in front of her. I didn't say a word. She looked into my eyes, then closed hers and murmured, "It's a restless soul. It's not a dead spirit. It's an ancient, cursed being." I gasped. "Cursed? Why? What does it want from me?" She replied, "It didn't go to you. It chose you." Her words shook my core. "It chose you." "What do you mean? How did it choose me? What did I do?" She answered while playing with a blue bead she wore around her neck. "Places like that shouldn't be slept in. Anyone who breaks that rule gets followed." I asked, tears already forming. "So how do I get rid of it?" She responded slowly, "You must return there. Only there can you confront it. You must speak to it. Burn the oath." "Return?" I asked in horror. "Back to that place? Impossible." She gripped my hand tightly. "If you don't go back, it will keep growing until it takes something from you and keeps it forever." That night was the hardest. I tried to act normal, smiling at my children, cooking, watching TV, but everything felt fake. Even the air in my own home now felt heavy, filled with a scent like smoke and blood. My husband sat beside me silently, then suddenly said, "I see you changing." What happened that night wasn't normal, and I can't take it anymore. I looked at him and said, "I'm planning to go back." He was surprised and asked, "Go back to the hotel, or are you staying away?" The old woman I went to said I must return. An oath must be closed, or this entity will take the most precious thing from us. We sat in silence for minutes before he finally said in a hesitant voice, "I'll come with you." The next day we got in the car and returned to the coastal town. The sky was gray and the air was saturated with the smell of sea mixed with rust. We stopped the car in front of the same abandoned hotel. Yes, abandoned. The windows were broken and the main door was locked with rusty chains. I approached slowly, pulling out from my bag the old key I had unconsciously kept, the key to the room. As soon as the key touched the chain, the lock gave way, as if something had been waiting for us. We entered. The darkness was thick, the air dusty, but room 6 was unnaturally cold. I felt the same chill as the first time. I entered alone, closed the door behind me, lit a candle, and sat in the center of the room. Then I whispered, "I've returned." Moments passed. The walls groaned, and the air buzzed with a strange sound. Then the same shadow appeared, the same black eyes. But this time it was closer, clearer, revealing its true face. It spoke in a voice that seemed to come from the bottom of a well. "You opened the door." I trembled. "Close it now. Take your oath and leave me." It replied more slowly, "The price hasn't been paid." "What price?" I asked. "Blood, or soul, or an eternal oath." Then it vanished, and the candle went out. The darkness wasn't alone anymore. Something heavier filled the room. Something darker than darkness itself. Anger, hunger, an eternal curse waiting to be undone. I sat in the dark for minutes I couldn't count, struggling with every breath, trying to control my heart, which beat like it was screaming, "Run!" But I didn't run. I turned on my phone flashlight, searching for any sign, any clue that might help me, anything connecting me to what the old woman had said. Suddenly, my eyes caught something beneath the bed. Slowly, I bent down, extended my trembling hand, and pulled out a wrapped piece of cloth, old, soaked in the smell of ancient decay. As soon as I unwrapped it, my eyes landed on a small manuscript written in strange letters, yet somehow understandable, as if someone were reading it to me within my mind. Those who enter a blood pact cannot leave unless by 3 means: sacrifice, substitution, or acceptance. I read it over and over, repeating to myself, sacrifice, substitution, acceptance. Then I found something small at the end of the cloth, a strand of human hair tied with a red thread. I gasped. I knew what it was. At that moment, the wall opposite me began to bleed. Yes, bleed. The paint slowly transformed into blood, dripping and writing words. "Choose now." I heard the door behind me open. It was my husband, his face pale, his voice hoarse, calling me from under the earth. "Take my place. Take my place." I screamed at him. "Don't listen. Don't let it take you." But he wasn't listening. His eyes were wild as if he were in another world. I ran toward him, grabbed his face with both hands and shouted, "Look at me, I'm here. You're not alone." I stared into his eyes until slowly his consciousness returned. He hugged me tightly and said, "I felt like I was disappearing, like the earth was pulling me underground." I told him, "We need to choose. It won't leave unless it gets something in return." In that moment of silence, I understood. Sacrifice meant a soul. Substitution meant one of us stays in its place. Acceptance meant we carry it with us forever. I looked at him and said, "We won't sacrifice anyone, and we won't leave each other, but we will accept it. We will close the door, but not break the oath." We reopened the manuscript and found a piece of charcoal inside. We began drawing a circle around us as shown, reciting the prayer written in it, invoking the name of the one created from fire, sealing the name of the one imprisoned under the earth for thousands of ages. We closed the pact and sealed the door, never to return. The ground shook, the walls screamed, the whole room erupted in a cry. Then silence. I opened my eyes. Morning had come. The room was unchanged. No blood, no shadows. Only weak sunlight filtering through the window. My husband looked at me and said, "It's gone." "No," I replied. "It's not gone. It's trapped. But we must never break the oath again." We left the hotel with the manuscript and buried it somewhere no one would ever find. But weeks later, while organizing my children's clothes, I found a wrapped piece of cloth inside a drawer I hadn't opened in months. I opened it slowly. Inside was the same strand of hair, tied with the same red thread. I backed away from the drawer slowly. The air around me grew heavier. The room itself seemed to be watching me. I looked at the bundle of hair tied with red thread, and my heart asked, how did it return? I buried it myself. I buried it with my own hands. I felt a strange coldness creeping up my spine. Then I heard the door behind me slam shut on its own. Click. Alone. I was alone in the room, but truly I wasn't. The smell of sulfur returned. Whispering voices began circling the room. Unintelligible words, threatening whispers, stifled laughter. Then silence, and a single deep familiar voice said, "You haven't chosen yet." Everything that happened before was just a delay. Every ritual was an attempt to pacify it, not to end it. I realized now. This entity didn't want to be trapped. It wasn't looking for a soul. It was looking for a door to enter my world, our world, and the door was me. In the days that followed, I began to see things my mind couldn't comprehend. Pale-faced people passing by me on the street, smiling a terrifying smile, as if they knew me. Children laughing unnaturally behind glass, watching me. Sometimes at night, I'd hear the same voice. Choose, choose, choose. One night, I woke up walking in the street. I didn't know how I got out of the house or when. Barefoot, raining heavily, and there, in the middle of the road, stood the black shadow. But it wasn't a shadow anymore. It had a body, a form, eyes, and a clear voice. It said, "If you don't open the door for me, I will open it myself." I understood then. It had begun to emerge, crawling into our world. I returned home and began writing everything I had experienced in an old notebook. Every word, every dream, every whisper, because I fear I may soon lose myself. I can feel it getting closer. My breaths don't feel like mine. My body is weakening. I am changing. In every mirror I look into, I see a shadow behind me, drawing closer, smiling wider. If you ever find this notebook, if you reach this chapter, please don't go to that hotel. Don't touch a strange key. Never open the door. Because I did. And now I am no longer. If you enjoy the content I create, please consider subscribing and supporting my journey. Your subscription helps me continue doing what I love, and your comments mean the world to me. They fuel my motivation and help me improve. Every bit of support, whether big or small, makes a huge difference. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being part of this amazing community.